What's your deepest secret? Summer camp. I was 13 years old. 7 days no poop. In the middle of the 8th night I wake up because I'm exploding. I don't reach the bathroom on time, so I pooped almost everywhere while running. I reached the bathroom, washed and then went back to my tent to sleep. The next day everyone thought an animal like a bear or deer had entered the camp and pooped everywhere. No one ever found out that bear was me. When I was a small child, my mother's friend Amy was babysitting. Amy had a son, and for whatever reason he broke one of his brand new toys while I was there. When his mother found out, he blamed me, and she believed him. She let all the kids go outside in the pool while I had to stay inside and do the dishes. Well, I wasn't washing them the way she wanted, so she grabbed the back of my neck and shoved my face into the hot soapy water and smacked my face. Later that night I had to shower over her house, so I pissed in her mouthwash and hair conditioner while I was in the bathroom. I grew up in Maryland. When I was 16, me and my friends were driving home from a party. All of us were intoxicated, so we were on a back road trying to lay low. Suddenly we came across an overturned Jeep and immediately pulled over, completely freaking out. The driver was crushed, but the passenger was still alive. He couldn't talk or anything and was struggling to breathe. My one friend pulled him from the vehicle and then he just stopped breathing. He died right in front of us. At that point, we were all freaking out, debating whether to call the cops or even do anything because, again, we were all teenagers. Nobody wanted to get a DUI that night, so we just went home. And as soon as we got back, my one friend took the fall and told the police what happened, etc. Here's the worst part. The two people in the Jeep were the parents of some girl in my class, and I thought about that night for the rest of high school. So many things that could be done differently. Using my throwaway, I used to work at an investment bank. However, to get the job I had to do a variety of assessments, which among others included an Excel financial modeling test. Now I'm quite experienced with Excel. I built lots of complex financial models. But what this task involved was to make some corrections to a very poorly built financial model. Not intentionally bad, just whoever did it didn't know their stuff well. They leave me in a room with a laptop. To complete this task, I open up the spreadsheet and have very little idea where to start. This is just making no sense. As I'm scanning through the tabs desperately trying to find things I'm able to do, I noticed something saved on the desktop. Some previous candidate's attempt was saved there. Well, I opened it up and started copying what that guy had done and added a few tweaks of my own. I ended up getting the job. Not exactly dark, but I'm pretty sure my son isn't biologically mine. There was a lot of doubt about the date of conception and multiple people his mother cheated on me with, but after months of being promised he was mine, I foolishly just accepted it, or told myself to anyway. Cut to him being 3 months old. She decides she's scared of him and can't look after him. He's now 7 years old and never sees his mum. She's vanished and doesn't even check in with him. He's my son, no matter what anyone could tell me. As far as I'm concerned at this point though, I've raised him and loved him unconditionally for the past 7 years and will continue to do for the rest of his life. And if I'm being honest, I'm also really scared to get a DNA test more than anything, for fear that if I found out he isn't mine, I won't love him or look at him the same way. I don't think I would ever do that personally, but you just never know how a highly emotional situation is going to make you react or feel sometimes. I have been the black sheep of my family my entire life. No matter what I do, it isn't funny to me. For the past couple years I've been secretly taking courses, saving money, and tying up loose ends. I have an entire escape plan set up, with multiple contingency plans. If it doesn't work the way I want it to, within the next couple months I'm buying a one-way plane ticket, throwing my cell phone away, starting a brand new life, and disappearing from this forever. They have zero idea. They will cry and wonder why I will not, and know exactly why I'm excited. Years ago, I got a summer job at a grocery store. I was a teenager from a poor family, just trying to get a job so that we could afford food. My mom couldn't afford to feed us in the summer without the school lunches, but she made slightly too much to qualify for food stamps. If you've ever been poor, you know how it goes. The manager was a complete asswipe who fired me 2 weeks in because, and I quote, "I just don't like your personality." We had never actually spoken until that point, I cried because my mom was counting on me to be able to pay for the groceries that week, and I told him that. He told me I was being dramatic. The store had these barcodes they would stick on things to mark them down if they were expired. I realized that I still had the rolls of printed up stickers in my pocket when I got home. Because I had been marking things down that day, I copied the stickers off onto sticky paper and stole probably a few $1,000s of groceries that summer. I technically did pay for the groceries because I was checking them out at the self-checkout and paying money for them. But I was getting salmon fillets and racks of ribs for $2, big veggie trays for $1, expensive cheese for $0.99, etc. I was careful not to be too greedy and not try to buy a cart full of expensive stuff at a time. I would do several smaller transactions at self-checkouts and spread it out over about a dozen stores. It was a big, terrible, national corporate chain. I paid always in cash. I never got caught. I told my mom that I got an academic scholarship and that's where I got the money for the groceries. I don't feel bad about it, and the statute of limitations is expired anyway. My best friend from childhood came over to my college dorm to hang out one night. He bought coke and pills from other guys living on my hall for a party he was going to, and honestly I was impressed with him for being so well versed in the buying of illegal substances and charismatic with my dorm mates. Before he left he told me not to tell his mother what he was doing, but to tell her he loved her if he died, and I thought something was wrong. But I let him go because we had plans for the next day and I figured he had just developed a dark sense of humor in the time since we'd last seen each other. In retrospect he'd shown all of the signals, but I refused to see them. So I let him drive away. He didn't make it. He crashed his car many hours later that night with no seatbelt, probably high. His mother asked me what happened. I didn't tell her anything because I wanted her to think it was an innocent accident. I didn't want her to know what he got into. I'm still keeping his secret. When I was a young teenage boy, 13 or 14, 32 years ago, I was in a program called Explorers. It's part of the Boy Scouts, I believe. The troop I was in worked alongside the local sheriff's department. We were essentially young police officers in training. We'd go to the shooting range, ride along with officers, work special events with officers, etc. We had uniforms, and we are allowed to carry handcuffs and a radio. Every year there was a weekend event that was kind of like boot camp. It was held at a National Guard base and kids from all over the state came. There were a few hundreds kids ranging in age from about 13 to 17. We stayed in a barracks style arrangement with a large open room with single beds, probably about 30 kids to a barracks at the time. I was a small kid that had not yet started puberty. I got picked on a lot due to my size, which I believe was around 4 feet 8 inches at the time. One day, while the whole barracks was on a break, I don't know how it started, but at some point I find myself having to defend myself from a group of older kids bullying me. They are trying to capture me. We are making a lot of noise and pretty soon, it seems like everyone in the room is looking in my direction. More kids join in. Others just watch. Soon enough they have me. What seems to me like the oldest kid had taken charge of the situation. They take me to one of the beds and have me face down. I remember trying to bite, claw and kick free. I can't get free because handcuffs. I don't remember all of the details, but I remember them pulling my pants down and trying to penetrate me with a broomstick. To this day, I don't believe they were successful. I don't remember anyone coming to my aid, but maybe that's why it stopped. Maybe I fought enough they got bored. I don't know. The next thing I know, everyone is getting ready for the next event and we are outside lined up in formation ready to soldier on. When I was 16 I went over to a buddy's place and thought it would be funny to sneak inside and scare him. I knew their back porch door was usually unlocked, so I let myself in and quietly went upstairs. His sister's room was on the way to his, and as I passed it, I saw them together. They were making out, and he was fingering her, so I got there and decided I'd never mention it. They're both still friends of mine, and weirdly close. Despite having their own partners in life, it still makes me uncomfortable. When I was really young, like 4 or 5, I had a night when I couldn't sleep. I remember hearing grunting and moaning coming from outside my room somewhere. I didn't know what they were doing at the time, So I buried myself in the covers and hid from the monster. Eventually fell asleep. Talked to my mom the next morning about the scary noises, and she said there was a lion outside. So I spent the whole day being terrified the lion was gonna attack. Wasn't till 10 years later that I put 2 and 2 together and realized it was just my parent having an intimate time. I had a former coworker who was super mean to me. She straight up bullied me at work. Twice I walked into a room while she was actually talking bad about me by name. A few months after quitting that job, I looked up a revenge prank site and had a box of cow poop mailed to her at my former workplace. According to other people still working there, she threw an ugly crying tantrum the day she opened the package and was coddled by upper management. Sweet vengeance. I didn't tell my live-in partner about what I had done. He would have been livid and scared for the feds to show. I spilled beer on a homie's shoes and stained them, and he posted them on Snapchat like whoever stained these owes me $150. And I felt that if he was that angry, he wouldn't be my homie anymore. And I didn't have $150 because I was in between jobs and moving out soon. So I kept it a deep dark secret that can never see the light of day, but it was me. I have a very large family, people I still don't know even. I'm 44 now. Back in high school in the early 90s I had a normal teens years. Met a beautiful girl in the swim team. We started dating. After a couple months of going out, we started getting more serious. Then the deed happened. Our relationship was maybe about a year in when I got her pregnant. She was pregnant with twins. 2 beautiful girls. On the 8th month of the pregnancy we found out that her mother and my mother were actually first cousins, so that made us second cousins. We found out nearly 2 years after starting dating. As you can expect, the entire family went DEFCON1 and were divided over this for many years to come. By this time, she and I were deeply in love. We got married. We had a somewhat happy marriage. 12 years later we divorced as we started to grow apart. Usually happens when married too young. Anyway, we went our separate ways. I started my business, bought her a house so that she can live in peace with our daughters, and I bought my house nearby. We divorced, but we remained close friends for the sake of our daughters. Now they are adults and love me and their mom equally, since we worked together to raise them even after the divorce. Back in 1997, when I was 7 years old, I used to spend every other weekend sleeping over at my friend's house across the street. We were forbidden from going into his father's loft above the garage. One night my friend, his sister, and I decided to anyway. There was nothing up there but a chair, a TV, and a VCR. We turned on the TV and VCR, and it was inappropriate films. At the time we didn't know what it was, so we began emulating it. My friend and I were 7 years old, and his sister was just about to turn 9. Now, obviously we had no idea what we were doing, but we considered it a secret game. We would do it every time we spent the night after their parents fell asleep. One night, we were staying the night in a tent out in their backyard and we kind of broke the hymen. We started getting worried because she was bleeding and there was blood on me and I thought I was bleeding. She wasn't in a ton of pain, so we were kind of just freaking out trying to figure out what to tell her parents so we wouldn't get in trouble. Well, the neighbor they share a fence with was in his backyard and was overhearing us talk. He hopped the fence and said we could go use his shower to wash, then sat us down and explained everything. After we had, at the time, we were grateful to know she wasn't in need of the hospital. He said he wouldn't tell our parents, and then said if we wanted to keep playing our secret game, he would leave his garage unlocked so we could play in there on the nights I spent at their house. At the time we were all grateful, but now it's very clear to me what he was actually about. He never touched us, but he did sort of guide us. He just sort of sat and watched and told us what positions to try, since we only ever saw the one position from the video in her dad's VCR. Anyway, our parents never found out. This went on for about a year and a half, until I moved to a new city with my family. Shortly after we moved, that neighbor also vanished for a while, leaving behind his own son and a girlfriend. Once Facebook became a popular thing, I managed to get back in touch with those old friends of mine, and we met up and talked it out. None of us are especially traumatized by what happened, but we all realize we were very manipulated by a pedophile. We speculated about what he would have done to us if he had more time to feel emboldened. But overall, we have all continued to lead happy, healthy lives and a good relationship. We also got in touch with that guy's son and asked about his dad's disappearance. It turns out his father's body was found in his car in a storage unit. He had killed himself about 2 months after I moved, and my friends and I deduced that he probably got really nervous about not having me across the street where he could keep a closer eye and determine if he was gonna get caught. We told his son what had happened, but aside from that, nobody else in our lives knew. I'm married now. My old friend just got engaged, and his sister is married now and has a couple kids. We've all led beautiful lives. We don't talk a whole lot anymore, but we talk on Facebook every now and then. We're all doing fine. But yeah, that's the big, dark secret.